Hey, welcome to Agri Talk. How's it going?
It's going well. The rain has subsided from our county fair that I was at last week. So we had quite a bit of rain last week during our fair, and actually the week before that, at another county fair local to us, we had quite a bit of rain. So
Yeah, ours got flooded a little bit.
yeah,
And I think this is, I don't know if it's a good year for growing things. I don't remember too much of a long dry spell.
yeah, I think we're still plenty good as far as the farmers go. I don't think we're dry by any means, but I have noticed that there is more pockets of water in areas. So
You mean standing water?
yeah, like
So you got to worry about
the storms.
mosquitoes?
Well, yeah, you could, yeah, definitely think about that. But the I've just noticed that the rain or the storms have been small cells, more concentrated. Like it
Yeah,
might
they're
rain on your
hard.
farm, but barely rain on mine,
Right.
or none, and we might be only a mile or two apart. So I've noticed that a lot more this season,
Yeah.
and and I think that's going to be could be a big to do later on at harvest time. So,
Hopefully
because-
everything averages out.
Yeah, because right now, obviously, everything's in full, just given full tilt growing right now. And obviously, water is what's going to make it grow to a degree anyway.
Depending on the crop, whether it likes
Yeah,
a lot of water
a lot
or
of water or
not.
not. Right. So along with that, what we're talking about is a upcoming field night at the Piketon Research Center, or the OSU South Centers over in Piketon, Ohio.
So what is field night? Is that a training event or is that a touring event or what?
Well, it's actually, I'm going to call it an educational event.
Okay.
That this one is for the soil and water program. So the South Centers has multiple programs. We have horticulture, aquaculture, soil and water, business and economic development, things like that. So typically each one of them will have their own field night of some sort. So here tomorrow, actually Thursday, is the soil and water field night. And what that's going to be is it's going to cover a lot of field crops, like what you're used to, corn and beans, like that. So what they're going to do is, and I'm going to ask you, go ahead and bring up the flyer on the screen, or if we can, but it's going to start at 5 o'clock tomorrow evening. And it's going to be, actually, you're going to come in for a food. We're going to have a dinner first. So real easy dinner. We're going to have wagon tours that's going to go to the field and then start touring. And what's going to happen is they're going to take you to the field as long as the weather holds out. They're talking a little rain, so wear your boots or anything like that. And there's our flyer. So the wagon tour is going to go through different fields and such. And what's going to happen is that we're going to go for look at corn ear disorders. So we'll have examples there, or we'll have some pictures of examples.
Would that be like mold or bugs?
Yeah, it could be a combination of that, and it could be also from either drought or too much rain. Different things that could cause these disorders. And the gentleman that'll be talking about that, Peter Thompson.
Thomason.
Thomason, it says. Yeah. Real good specialist on this, and you'll get some great information about that. So then after that, we're going to be going to the current weed management issue in Ohio. So we'll be touring multiple fields, and you'll see different weed pressures, I'll call it that. And we'll have examples. They'll have examples and talk about different chemicals or non-chemicals people we might be using to
No, this is
control.
more for your fields and not your yard.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. This is all field crops that we're talking about.
So I wonder how that, it's just probably something to ask them. You know, one person's weed is another person's just regular plant. And,
be,
you
yeah.
know, with the
Yeah.
no-till,
Yep.
you plant a low-growing plant for the bottom, and say like your corn is at the top. So
Yeah, well,
does it matter that one may be a weed and another is not?
well,
Do you harvest the
no, you
the
usually
ground
don't.
cover?
No, you do not typically harvest ground cover. What typically happens is your no-till during the winter time, coming into the early spring, you may plant what's called a cover crop. Could be winter peas, fescue, different things that they call cover crops.
No,
And,
well, I
and what
guess
that
that
does is
wouldn't
that
be
gives the
tilled
ground
under.
nitrogen.
Right.
Okay, so yeah, you could, and a lot of times people will go in and spray and kill that right before they go in and plant.
Okay.
So then they plant directly right into it. They don't till it. They don't plow it or disc it up. They just wait for it to die down a little bit as that pressure, and then they'll plant. And then that'll come. Then your corn or beans.
And
or
I guess
whatever
you would choose the cover crop
Yes.
aside from a weed for the nutrients that it would give the soil.
Yeah, typically a lot of people use like winter peas and things like that and that helps the soil along, because what it does is, if I remember right, again, I'm not the
Aeration was
specialist
something
here.
I remembered.
Yeah, it goes in and those roots break up the ground.
So like radishes.
Yes, exactly. Radishes as well. That's another cover crop. And I'm sure we'll talk about cover crops there too, what's best as well. But the roots go in and break up the ground, sort of like doing its own tilling, if you would. So that really helps.
Especially around here, because we've got, a lot of clay and hard compacted type
Absolutely.
soils.
Yeah,
Which-
and
which
when
I
you
like
run
to
that
tell those
tractor
guys
over.
dirt, because they don't like the word dirt.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. It's dirt on your floor, but it's soil out there in the field. Absolutely. So, but yeah, after how many years you've run that tractor over that field, it's compacted it as well, and that's what they're trying to help eliminate, is that how many times across that field for a tractor for that, and that's
So
why
as far as the weed, what would you be talking about weeds? Types of weeds?
Yep.
The danger, or the ones that may be more invasive that you have a problem with, versus the ones that are not a problem? And
Yeah.
maybe the ones you could use to benefit possibly, or not?
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to talk about the. I'm not sure a
'Cause
weed
then it's
is
not a
a
weed if
benefit.
it's
Yeah,
benefit.
yeah, if it's a benefit. But yeah, they're going to talk about obviously like Johnson grass is the biggest problem around here, or a lot of the problems around here.
Wouldn't
But there's
be like
other.
dandelions and stuff.
No, dandelions is where you're going to find in a yard. But you're going to find Johnson grass, horseweed, all these other weeds that'll grow 8 feet tall.
Okay.
This is the kind of stuff that they're going to talk about.
All right, the ones that would shade or
Yes.
get in the way of
Get in the
your
way.
regular-
Yes, get in the way of the normal growth
Okay.
of your plant. So that's why you would want to have that there. But then I'm sure they're going to talk about spray managements and things like that to make that a better process for you. Okay.
And then soil health.
Yeah, in-field soil health demonstrations.
So how
So
would you demonstrate soil health? Is that testing or something else?
yeah, it could be again. It could be again the multiples of using cover crops to make the health of the soil better by putting nitrogen back in, and then also they'll show you ways of how to test your soil. We have developed a soil kit that a person can use or purchase, and in that kit, it'll tell you different levels of your nitrogen and NP and K and stuff like that on your field. So you and
we've
then
done
they'll
a show
talk about
that.
yeah.
If you want to look back to see that, but if you look back and see that show about the soil test kit,
Yeah,
it's different now.
it is.
You've done more development, and there's another test for
Yep, you're right. It has. We've done more testing, and actually they've done a little procedure to where they've moved it out of our facility. So you purchase it somewhere else now. So we just kind of use ours as demonstrations.
Okay.
So that's what's happened to that.
Would this substitute sending your soil to the extension agent, or?
I wouldn't say it's going to substitute it completely, but it'll definitely aid in the middle. So maybe you might want to just sample, maybe in the once a year, sample your soil and send it to them. But maybe in between, after you have applied your nitrogen or potash or whatever you may put on it, maybe a week or a month or two or whatever down the road, you might check it again and say, oh, okay, this is doing well. Or maybe you would use the soil kit to test different areas of the field. That
I thought maybe it might be the first red flag. If it
Well, it
doesn't
could be
test
that too,
everything,
yeah.
then hey, it's getting on the edge of something. I better find out exactly what I need.
Yep.
And that's when you send it off.
Well, I suppose you could use it either way. Yeah, I could see that happening in both instances.
How many times could you use one of those kits? Is that like multi-use?
Oh yeah. There's several test strips because it looks just like a pool. Pool water test strips. So you could just go buy more test strips if you wanted. And then of course the chemical, you would have to get the chemical again. But there's several, there's enough chemical in there for several tests.
Okay.
So more than
And was there a charge
two or
for
three
that?
times. There is a charge for the kit,
Right.
but it's minimal, $20 or $20. I don't know exactly
Right.
now
I
what
thought-
it is because we've handed it off to a third party now. So it's not out of our shop.
Right. On the field night, is that is there a charge for that?
There is no charge for the field night. You just have to register.
Okay.
And now, obviously it's a little late if people are watching right now. Just call the center and they can get you on the list because the reason for the registration is for the food. So we know how much food to have. So that's
what kind of food you having?
We're going to have, I actually heard it today, and I believe we're just having pizza, salad, things like that. Okay. So if all of a sudden a few more people show up, we could just run and grab a couple extra pizzas, maybe.
Yeah, redo a whole dinner.
Right, we don't have to redo a whole dinner. That's for sure. And in that, in the weed management, that's where Mark Locks from campus, he's been doing weed management for years. And he's real good at that, and probably the most knowledgeable person in weed management that you'll find around.
He's a weed specialist. That would seem weird to go to school in agriculture and then to study what people don't want.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And then in the soil health, excuse me, is Alan Sundermeyer, and again, he's another fellow that knows.
He's been on our show, and he's a real good guy.
Yep, he really knows his the soil health part of it. And then of course we'll also have Dr. Rafiq Islam there that heads up the soil and water program at the South Centers, and we'll also have Yogi Rout. He's the person that manages the lab and does a lot of these samples and experiments behind the scenes. So you'll get to meet a lot of people and a lot of knowledgeable people there that you can ask questions, get more information, talk about the future, because literally that's what you probably should be doing is talking future. What can I do to improve my field for future references? Because now it's too late. The crop you got in your field you cannot help.
Right.
What can I do to make my crop better next year? Is really what you're planning for right now.
And next year comes pretty quick.
Next year starts real quick. Yeah, absolutely. So literally right after you get your crop off, you're thinking about what can I put in for a cover crop,
right?
To get it growing over the winter, because you want to be able to get it growing up there so you can get some roots in the ground to keep that soil moving.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of time between harvest, which would you say is October, late September, October?
Yeah, could be, yeah.
It could be now, but you've got all that time between October and really January, or in the middle of January, because it doesn't get real cold until in that area. And it seems to be. It doesn't seem to get too cold in November, December. Yet.
No. That's when that cover crop's going to be trying to grow.
Right.
Absolutely. And then hopefully we'll be ended by around 9 o'clock, but usually it runs late. But they're going to have some door prizes and things like that as well. So as long as we get started on time and try to stay within the agenda, we'll be real close to that 9 o'clock. But there's multiple times that it's 9:30 or 10 o'clock before, because there's so many people that have questions and things like that. And we will be on wagons as long as it's, the weather holds out. The wagons do have a cover. Matter of fact, you were on a wagon the other day there.
Yeah.
So it'll be that kind of wagon. And like I said,
is there any particular tests that you're going to show or showcase out there?
I'm not going to say it's any particular test. It's just the common ones that you should do. Again,
I saw a field where they tilled and then they didn't.
Yeah.
And then I think one of them was taller than the other.
Yeah, that's part of our experiments there. Some is tilled, some's no tilled, some is used field crop or winter cover. Some don't have winter cover.
And the high tunnels.
The high tunnels is typically in the horticulture area.
Okay.
But we do have an experiment there that they might cover. I'm not sure.
And then there was another one where you were, I think, was it corn, where it looked like they had these tanks and some black hoses going back and feeding.
Oh yeah,
watering.
yeah. And that was also in that little hoop house that we were running two side by side. So we're running one that does it is exposed to
Gets the
Mother Nature,
rainfall.
if you would. Yeah. And then one that is not, so it's covered with a hoop house, so it does not get any rainfall. And they're also on raised
It seemed like
beds.
that one was taller.
Yeah, inside the hoop.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Which I don't know if tall corn is good.
Yeah. It could not be good. It all depends on what the ears look like.
Right, exactly,
Yeah.
because you're not harvesting the corn,
Right.
the stalks and stuff. So
Yep.
either you're putting your energy into the
The plant.
or the corn.
That's right. So yeah, it could very well be that that plant just might be 10 feet tall, and the ears may just be little stubbles on that corn.
Yeah.
So it does really matter. But that's an experiment that you would have to come out and see. Unfortunately, we can't talk a whole lot about it, on the air and things like that. But you're welcome to come out to the field night and check it out. Visit with our specialists and try to get all the information we can.
Right. And none of this information is like proprietary or you guard it, because you're doing it for the benefit of the public. And
we are doing it. Yeah, we are doing it for the benefit of the public. Some of them, we may have numbers on, or we don't have names because maybe this, the seed may have not come out yet. So we might be helping helping some company that produces seeds. They want to say, well, tell us how it grows in Southern Ohio. We don't know.
Oh, right.
So this might be one year that one of those blocks of plantings you've seen, corn, beans, whatever it might be. It may just have a number on it.
Okay.
And in some cases, we don't want to know what it is. So what we might do is we just put the seed in a bag and say, this is number 1. And then this sample's number 2. So we just go plant it, and then after it's over, then we go back and use our chart and say, okay, number 1 was this variety, and number 2 was this variety. So we make sure that we're not having any bias.
Right.
So we don't even know in some cases what variety it is. We just know that number 5 did better than number 4, or could be anything like that.
It'd be interesting to do some stuff about how to not prevent weeds, but animals. Because they'll take out a lot of your crops too.
It will. That's true. And depending on what you're trying to keep out, in our horticulture area, as you've seen over there, we have a great big perimeter fence.
Yeah, 10 foot tall.
Yeah, and that keeps out our deer population, because the deer The deers dearly love all of those nice fruits,
And then you got
strawberries and everything.
netting over the grapes and stuff where the birds will come
For the
in.
birds, yep. Keep the birds out of the grapes. We have a big net that keeps over the blueberries area, so we try to keep the animal population down so we can keep as much accuracy on our samples or on our testing as we can. So.
Guess you could also see which one they prefer.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, you could also. I guess you could go by the animals and go, well, this one tastes better than that one, obviously, because
The birds
they
are not-
finished this one up.
They're not eating that one. I wonder why.
Yeah,
Maybe
let's
they
not
know
plant that
something
one.
we don't.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And
So-
back in the 70s, I don't know if they did any research on, I don't know if you remember the fad of playing music and singing to your plants.
Oh, well, no, I don't know about that one. We don't necessarily play music, but we do occasionally have a cannon that goes off. It keeps, kind of
right.
scares birds. It's just air. It's not a real cannon.
Right.
It just goes poof.
Right. When I toured some of the wineries or vineyards out in New York, you would hear boom here every once in a while.
Oh, yeah.
Or they'll play a sound for birds of prey.
Birds of prey, yes, that would be another one. Yep, and there'll be people sometimes will get these plastic owls or something and sit on fence posts. That also they say helps. So I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of birds out there still.
Yeah. Stubborn, and they're smart.
Yes,
They
absolutely.
learn.
They know by the
Like
end
that
of
sound
Yeah.
doesn't mean a thing.
Yeah, by the end of the summer last year, when we had that air cannon going a couple of times, they knew exactly when that thing was going to go off. And all of a sudden they disappeared, and about that time, boom, it'd go off. And here they come back. And then all of a sudden they disappeared, boom, the cannon would go off again, and then they come back.
Yeah,
I'm
they're
like,
not
how do they
dumb.
know that? And it was set for random, supposedly. But apparently they picked up that random somehow.
And I saw an experiment once where they tested the intelligence of a plant.
Oh, really?
It was kind of interesting. They had a fan and a light, and with the light, the plant would turn towards the light.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they did it at the same time this fan would blow. Okay, and so over I don't know how many weeks, they would turn on the fan and the light, and the plant would turn towards the light.
Yeah.
And then they would leave the light off and turn the fan on, and it would still turn that direction.
Really? I wonder why.
Because it learned.
It learned to
And
turn when the
supposedly
wind
they-
blows.
Yeah, and supposedly they thought, well, there's some intelligence in the plant.
Interesting.
Either they trained it or it
Yeah.
associated the wind with the light or something.
Yeah.
And you can probably look that up on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's
Everything's
an
out
interesting thing.
there. Yeah. Yeah. So, Mike, we only got a few minutes left, and we're going to
Promote
cover
some shows.
Yeah, give us a quick little overview of a few shows that we do here. And looks like the first Wednesday, the first Thursday, is Food, Nutrition, and Wellness with Dan Remley and myself. So
And this is on the channel from the South Center.
this one is South Center's channel. Yes. And we talk a lot about food nutrition and different things associated with your health. From everything I think the last thing we talked about was what you're drinking: water versus soda versus beer. How much? What's in those? How much you should drink? Things like that. So that was a real
so
good
you
show.
can tell you how much beer you should drink?
Yeah.
Maybe I have to check that out.
Yeah, you have to watch that one. You'll be surprised. It's it's good. So the next one is Ag News.
That's on the second Thursday.
That's the second Thursday, and that's John Grimes and again myself. And on that one, we typically cover beef cattle because John is a beef person. He's a beef specialist for OSU Extension, and we cover a variety of things there. So. Related to the beef industry.
Yeah, we only have like one or two shows where we're the expert.
Yeah. We're
Otherwise,
usually helping.
We're the
Yeah.
instigators.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. We're the ones helping.
We ask
and,
the hard
yeah,
questions.
Yeah, we try to keep the information flowing.
Right.
Yeah. So
Amanda Woods.
Amanda Woods. This will be a new show, and I'm not sure exactly what Amanda's covering. What is Amanda? Healthy soil?
Healthy people, healthy relationships. It's all part of the ag extension
Okay.
program.
Okay. Healthy people, healthy relationships,
And healthy
Okay.
finance.
healthy finance,
So managing your personal
world
world,
health.
I guess.
Yeah, that'll be a good
Tree
one.
Talk.
Tree
with
Talk.
Dave Aspley.
Dave Apsley and myself, we talk again. Dave is a natural resource specialist, so we talk a lot about trees. The last show we did tree identification. So we did with leaves, and it was a great show. Got good turnout, so please join us for that. I think the next one we're going to talk about doing tree measurements. So
Okay. And you can find these by, you can find shows like this
Yep.
by looking up Agri and Cable Access, and every title I have a playlist, and
yep,
South
Same way.
Centers.
Same way. We have playlists there, and obviously let's plug the show that we're doing right now, Agri Talk, which is here on Wednesdays, on the third Wednesday. So Rio Grande is always on Wednesdays, and South Centers is on Thursdays. So
All right.
we are out of time.
Yep. So thanks for watching, and in 1/2 hour you'll see Tech Talk, so stay tuned.